Have you ever wondered if there was an easier way to draw birds? And I don't mean a hyper realistic, perfect feather kind of way. I mean loose and gestural and intuitive. Today we are going to be practicing drawing birds, and I'm going to share with you some of my favorite books and the art supplies that I use to practice drawing and painting birds, and just a few things that I've discovered. It's not about perfection, it's about movement and gesture and basically letting the bird almost draw itself. First of all, you need the right paper to practice with different art supplies. I definitely encourage everyone to try different art supplies because it really helps you figure out what works for you. I have been using Goauche. I am using a very inexpensive brand of gouache called Hemi Gouache. This is Hemi Jelly Gouache. This is not professional gouache by any means, but it's a great way to practice in your sketchbook or art journal. You can write over the gouache with colored pencil. So I scribbled my little birds with colored pencil, then I painted over it with gouache, and then I drew back over it with colored pencil. I have been having so much fun trying to find the absolute perfect colored pencils to work with the gouache. And that's probably for a whole other video. However, the other art supplies that I've been using are my Neocolour crayons, if I want to play around loosely and gesturally, but you can use anything. You can use watercolor pencils, you can use crayons, you can use watercolor. The other art supply that I really like that's really affordable, and again, this is just for your art journal. This is not about professional type selling your art. This is just fun. This is tempera paint sticks, which you can just add on top of the gouache, and it really makes it pop. I didn't add any on top of this. I'm probably going to show you how I use colored pencils and that kind of thing over the birds. So that's the first part. Use different art supplies to see what you like. Also the paper. I'm using Talon's Art Creative paper, which handles the gouache really well. Now the paper, if you're adding water to it, curls up a little bit. If you don't like that, I just use clips or the elastic to straighten it out and let it dry. Or I'm also using like a watercolor paper. This is Soho Sketchbook paper. Let's see. Oh, here it is. I've been really into this Soho Sketchbook paper. It handles watercolor and gouache, and again, all my art supplies, even glitter glue, really, really well. So I have found this to be super fun to play with when it comes to practicing loose gestural drawing, and also layering different art supplies to draw and paint birds. This was a really fun one to do, and I really like the way these look. The second thing I wanted to say before we start drawing birds is that it's nice to have one or two books to play around with and have as a reference. Now you can use Pinterest as a reference. You can get pictures online as a reference, but if you follow my channel, you know that I'm really into old books or thrifted books. And this one was on sale at Chapters or Indigo Books in Canada. And this one was gifted to me, and it's a Reader's Digest book of North American birds. This one is more, you know, as far as I'm concerned, guides on the different types of birds if you want to draw them and paint them. I just like looking at them so I can get an idea of where the eyes go, different kinds of birds, that kind of thing. The next book that I like to use as a reference, specifically, this is such a fantastic book called Sketching and Illustrating Birds, a professional drawing class. And as you can see, if you were looking for a study in birds, in book form, this would be it. How to draw the feet. Now, to be honest with you, I don't actually read. I should read this, but I just love looking at different birds and how they're drawn and sort of play around in my own way, in a gestural way and not in a realism way. But I just love the colors of this, you know, these muted colors and how it covers all kinds of birds and different art materials. The first way that I like to draw birds is specifically this kind of bird because it's really easy to draw. I want to get loose and maybe not try for realism, of course, because that's not what I'm into. I'll actually start with a little bit of paint and a little bit of gouache, and I'm really into the blue right now. And all I'm going to do is draw a circle, and I almost make this bird look like a fish. I feel like it kind of looks like a fish. And the next thing I'm going to do is just draw almost like a tail. I mean, doesn't that kind of look like a fish to you? And then you're going to manipulate it after, and you're going to play around with it a bit more. So you make that little fish shape, and then you play around with it a bit more. And again, we know that this isn't about perfection. I'm kind of making this head of the bird a little more angular and kind of bringing, making it have like a little more rounded and not so fish-like, except for the tail, which I kind of play around with. And maybe like a mermaid. But then the next part of it is adding the wings of the bird. And I come up a little bit like this, and then I'm really loose with it because I am just playing around and I don't want to be realistic about it. You really have to let go. And, you know, I have some people who have said, you know, they're trying to draw faces or they're trying to draw things and, you know, it's just not working out for them. But the problem is that we have to let go of perfection and we have to let go of our own expectations of ourselves. If you're holding yourself to a certain standard of drawing and you're not achieving that certain standard of drawing that you're holding yourself to, then you are definitely going to be frustrated and quit. And I personally believe that everyone has the ability to draw, but the biggest challenge when it comes to it, if you're just, you know, drawing, is that we often expect perfection of ourselves. And the moment we strive for perfection is the moment we have locked ourselves in. We've locked ourselves into a certain way of creating art that sort of prevents us from discovering what we're capable of. Maybe I'll draw another one right here. And my reference for these, you know, besides looking in my book, is I really like this right here. I like the wings and the tails, and I really love that color. So let's see if we can do this bird here. And remember, it kind of looks like a fish. So that's what I'm aiming for when I first draw it, is a fish. So I am going to give it a try, and I'm playing with whatever colors I want. I don't really need to have the same exact color, but I'm definitely into the blue right now. Again, that fish body, in my mind, it looks like a fish body and a tail. And this jelly gouache is pretty thick. I think I see a lot of people with the jelly gouache, and they use like a much thinner, like they thin it out more than I do. Okay, so now we've got this head that I'm going to try to bring back, now that I've got the fish shape in, and bring back that chest. I'm not too worried about this tail, but I'm going to bring in like a wing, and then the other one sort of comes up like this. And I'm just playing with different colors. Don't expect perfection. Let go. That's the hardest thing to do, is to let go. Now you can't, like I'm playing with the body right here because I kind of want to do something like that. And I'll put the little beak in. I'll just map it in. And now I'm just going to wait for this to dry, and then I'm going to show you how I use colored pencils on top of it. After you draw your artwork, you can then play with it using colored pencils and Neocolour crayons. And so you could see that I'm just playing around with some mark making. And really, when it comes to your art journal, it's really all about the mark making and how can you discover new things. And you can see, hopefully, that I can add different colors to this bird. After you draw your artwork, you can then play with it using colored pencils and Neocolour crayons. My table's a little wobbly. I like to see what kind of colored pencils work well on the artwork. And so you could see that I'm just playing around with some mark making. And really when it comes to your art journal, it's really all about the mark making and how can you discover new things. So I'm just grabbing colored pencils and playing with different colors. Definitely like the green. And the other thing that I really like, this hasn't dried enough, but the other thing I really like are these Neocolour crayons. And you can see, hopefully, that I can add different colors to this bird. And find out which colors work best. The other thing you can do that I love to do is I'll grab my paintbrush and I'll grab a little bit of whatever color I want. And I'm going to really start just really going in there and adding whatever colors I want. So this is a bird and I'm like, yeah, well, I think maybe this bird is, you know, over a field. And so I'm holding my paintbrush really loose and I'm just really adding some different colors in there and playing around. I would love to hear from you if you gave this a try, drawing or painting birds in a really loose, abstracted kind of way so that the bird almost draws itself or paints itself. So let me know in the comments if you gave this a try. I'd love to hear from you. I hope you all have a wonderful day and happy creating.